The galactic trade station Azora. 7 buzzed with activity. A kaleidoscope of colors and sounds filled the air as species from every corner of the known universe moved through the wide, gravity-controlled corridors. Holographic signs floated overhead, glowing in shifting alien scripts, guiding travelers to docking bays, market stalls, and cultural exchange halls. Among the sea of unfamiliar forms, one figure stood out, a human. Lieutenant Marco Reyes strolled casually, hands in his jacket pockets, eyes scanning the crowd with easy curiosity. His dark hair was slightly tousled, and a sly grin tugged at the corner of his mouth. He loved these stations. Places like Azora, 7 weren't just centers for trade. They were places to see the extraordinary and sometimes be the extraordinary. He wandered into the cultural exchange hall, where holographic displays showcased customs, art, and performances from different species. One projection caught his eye. A looping 3D video of a human sprinter mid-race, muscles taut, legs driving forward with precision and power. Marco smiled. Simple, efficient, and unstoppable. Strange design, a smooth, melodic voice said beside him. Marco turned his head to find an alien standing a few paces away, watching the hologram with intense focus. The being was tall, about a head taller than him, with a sleek, chitinous body that shimmered with soft blue and green bioluminescent pulses. Its 4 limbs were oddly shaped. 2 limbs functioned as legs but could shift into arms or gripping tools at will, while the upper limbs were slender, jointed manipulators with delicate, claw-like tips. "Excuse me." Marco raised an eyebrow, unsure if he'd just been insulted. The alien tilted its head, the glow along its body shifting to a soft yellow. "Your lower appendages. They only walk, run, and jump, yes. Inefficient design. My people would never rely on such limited functions." The glow shifted to a cool shade of green, signaling curiosity. "Mustrame chaosiae cosa entre tus piernas." Marco froze, his eyebrows shooting up in surprise. He blinked, glanced around, then gave a short, incredulous laugh. "Oh wow. Bold request." The alien's head tilted further. "Does that phrase not translate correctly? I refer to your limbs. Your legs, as you call them." "Yeah, I figured that out," Marco chuckled, running a hand through his hair. "Still, you gotta be careful with phrasing like that." "I am Arachazel of the Zioran kin," the alien said, the glow along its limbs shifting to a calming blue. "Our appendages are versatile. They walk, climb, grip, and adapt to any surface or environment. Yours," Arachazel gestured at Marco's legs, the motion almost dismissive, "are crude." Marco let out a short bark of a laugh, arms crossing over his chest. "Crude, huh? All right, Arachazel, let me tell you something about these crude limbs." He stepped back, rocking on his heels. "They may not shift into claws or grapplers, but they're fast. Faster than you think." "Speed alone is insufficient," Arachazel replied, folding their limbs neatly beneath them. Their bioluminescent glow flickered, like fireflies dancing beneath a glass surface. "Complexity breeds superiority. Why limit yourself to 2 identical structures when 4 could be multi-purpose? Because sometimes simple gets the job done." Marco shot back, taking a casual step forward. He raised a foot and stomped it playfully. 2 legs, baby. Built for balance, speed, and endurance. "Demonstrate," Arachazel said plainly, their eyes locked on Marco's. He raised an eyebrow. "What, like right here?" "Yes." The glow shifted to bright yellow, the color of excitement. "Show me." Marco's grin widened. "All right, alien friend. You asked for it." He crouched low, wiggling his fingers like a sprinter about to take off from the blocks. Then, with a sudden burst of energy, he dashed forward. He wasn't moving at top speed, just enough to show off. His strides were smooth, measured. He leapt over a small seating platform and spun in midair, landing lightly on his feet. With barely a pause, he jogged back to where Arachazel stood. "See that?" Marco asked, a little breathless but grinning. "Lean takeoff. No prep required. Pure instinct." Arachazel watched silently, the glow along their limbs flickering with complex patterns. Unnecessary flair. Overexertion. That was just a warm-up, Marco shot back, stretching his legs. You want to see speed, I'll show you speed. He dropped into a runner's starting position. Count me down. 3, RHL said, eyes narrowing. 1. Marco was gone before the count ended. His legs pumped like pistons, each step a calculated burst of force. He weaved through the open hall, dodging around aliens and leaping over obstacles. His pace was steady, his breathing controlled. When he reached the far end of the hall, he pivoted sharply, accelerating on the return trip. By the time he reached RHL, he was breathing harder, but his smile hadn't faded. He held up his hands. Tell me that's not efficient. Acceptable, RHL admitted, the glow on their body softening to a pale blue. But efficiency is not superiority. Your movements are rigid. Predictable. Predictable. Marco huffed. Buddy, I just broke every line of expectation you had. He stepped closer, hands on his hips, his grin wide. Tell you what. Why don't you show me what your fancy legs can do? Then we'll see who's predictable. The glow shifted to a sharp red, the color of a challenge. The hum of the incoming vessels vibrated through the ground, each pulse rattling Marco's nerves a little more. The ships hovered overhead, sleek crystalline orbs brimming with shifting lights like prisms catching the sun. As they settled into position, beams of soft golden light cascaded from their undersides, illuminating the clearing. More Tzorthians descended from the beams, their movements smooth, weightless. They joined the gathering crowd, each one flashing colors of intrigue and focus. Marco exhaled sharply, his breath fogging the inside of his helmet. This is getting out of hand. His fingers flexed at his sides, his mind running through every training scenario he'd ever been briefed on. Decom. Escalate. Establish common ground. None of those lessons included. Defend your pants in front of an alien tribunal. Okay, I see what's happening, he said, his voice tight with forced patience. You think there's some kind of secret inside me. Hidden core. Power source. Something you think I'm protecting. He stepped forward, scanning the crowd with his visor, looking for even a hint of recognition. But I'm telling you, I am just a guy. No cores, no conduits, no hidden compartments. Everything you see is exactly what you're getting. Chalavor raised a single hand. The crowd's lights dimmed to a hushed glow. The air grew heavier. The elder's glow pulsed slowly, each burst like a heartbeat. The translator hissed, crackling through static. Unseal your conduit. Let all witness the truth. Marco laughed once, sharp and humorless. Unseal my conduit. My guy, if you think I'm about to strip in front of all of you, you've got another thing coming. He pointed at them, circling his finger at the crowd like a referee calling a foul. You think I'm the weird one here? I've got news for you, Crystal Crew. Asking a guy to take off his gear in front of an audience is a real quick way to get flagged for an HR meeting. The crowd didn't react, save for a subtle ripple of cool blue lights. Their stillness made it worse. His heart thudded harder, his breathing faster. He could feel control slipping away. All right, look, he said, his voice sharper now. You want to see what's so special about this? He unclipped the beacon from his belt, holding it high for all to see. It was a smooth metallic disc, no larger than his palm. This is a beacon. Locator. When I activate it, my people know where I am. No course. No mystery. Just human-made tech. He pressed the button. The beacon lit up with a red flash, sending a sharp ping into the air. It echoed like a sonar pulse, fading into the distance. Marco glanced at Chalavor, waiting for some sign of understanding. The elder tilted his head slowly, as if processing what he'd seen. His glow shifted from amber to a cool, thoughtful green. The light show from the other Tzorthians followed suit, flickering in unison. For a moment, Marco thought he'd gotten through to them. Maybe the demonstration had worked. Maybe logic had finally landed. Then the translator buzzed. Signal sent. Message received. Witnesses have been summoned. No, 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 Marco stammered, holding up his hands. That wasn't a summons. It was a ping. A location ping, not a call for more witnesses. He spun in a slow circle, eyes darting to the horizon where more flashes of movement caught his attention. Tiny, distant glows approaching like fireflies in the night. More Tzorthians. This is a nightmare, he muttered, rubbing his face. This is an actual waking nightmare. Chulavor took a step closer, his glow calm but firm. His lights pulsed with precision like he was counting down to something. The translator hummed. All things conceal their cores. Flesh, stone, metal. Reveal yours, crafter, so all may witness your truth. Marco's hands fell to his sides, his gaze fixed on the ground. They're not going to drop this. They think it's a test, some kind of ritual. He glanced at his belt, the multi-tool, the pouches, the beacon. They weren't going to believe him, not unless he did something drastic. All right, he muttered, clenching his jaw. All right, you want to see a core? I'll show you a core. He dropped to one knee, his hands moving with mechanical precision. The crowd watched in absolute silence, colors flickering in slow, steady rhythms. He yanked the multi-tool from its slot, snapped it open into a screwdriver, and began unscrewing the side panel on the beacon. Each twist of the screw echoed in the quiet. The plate popped off with a soft click, revealing the tangle of wires and tiny circuits inside. Look, Marco said, holding it up like a holy relic. This is my core. Not flesh, not bone. It's copper, silicon, and a little human ingenuity. He jabbed a finger at the glowing power cell inside. This is where the power comes from. It's a battery. No magic, no mystery, just science. He turned it toward Chulavor. This is what you're looking for, right? Marco leaned forward, his voice low and sharp. Not hidden, not secret. I just built it. Silence. Total stillness. Even the hum of the ships had faded into the background. Every single Tzorthian watched him, lights pulsing in slow, measured waves. Marco stared back, his breath shallow, his hands slick with sweat inside his gloves. Then, at last, Chulavor stepped forward. Slowly, deliberately. He reached out with one of his long, sharp fingers and tapped the exposed battery. Spark. Just a tiny spark. Barely a flicker. But that flicker danced across Chulavor's limb, spreading in ripples of golden light across his crystalline form. His glow shifted from amber to gold, so bright Marco had to squint. The other Tzorthians flashed in response, their colors shifting in perfect harmony. Golden light everywhere. Blinding. Radiant. The hum returned, but not from the ships. Came from them. A deep, resonant hum that vibrated through Marco's chest like a subwoofer cranked to max. He stumbled back, his heart hammering. Hey, what did you just do? What is this? The light faded slowly, like the dying embers of a fire. Chulavor lowered his hand, his glow soft but steady. The translator buzzed. Truth revealed. Marco's eyes darted from Chulavor to the crowd. Their colors had changed. No more blues or greens. Just gold. All of them. Their gazes locked onto him like they were seeing him for the first time. Wait, Marco said, stepping back. What truth? I showed you a battery. That's not a truth, it's just a battery. Chulavor's glow pulsed in slow, steady beats, like the ticking of a clock. The translator buzzed, each word slower than the last. The crafter conceals no more. Witnesses are satisfied. The core has been shared. The crowd shifted as one, taking a step back. Their lights dimmed to a calm, peaceful white. The tension bled out of the air like a slow exhale. Marco blinked, breath still coming fast. He scanned their faces, looking for any hint of threat. Nothing. Just calm. Just quiet. Chulavor raised his hands, his lights flickering like the last rays of a setting sun. The translator's final message came through with chilling clarity. Peace upon the crafter, for he has shown us his spark. Marco didn't move, didn't breathe. His fingers hovered over the disassembled beacon, eyes still locked on Chalavor. Bark. Is that what they think this is? The crowd slowly began to disperse. No urgency, no fear. They turned back toward the cliffs, the floating ships, the unseen places from which they'd come.